Tim Mahoney is back tonight, breaking down the different types of lawyers you might need. Thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure. Always great to be here. Always great to be here. Happy Thanksgiving. A little bit early. We were just talking about turkeys. So there's this guy that has this ad that says, you know, you don't want your DUI lawyer handling your crash case or your divorce lawyer handling your crash case. And so I wanted to come in and kind of talk about that and explain that you do need different lawyers for different things. So, you know, let's say you're not feeling well and you go to your primary care physician, your PCP. You go to your doctor, and your doctor is there to kind of triage, right? If it's something that is a general issue that they handle, here's an antibiotic or here's this. But if there is a specialty that needs to happen, then they refer you to that specialist.
Yes.
Well, lawyers operate in the same way. So it's a good idea to have contact with a general practice attorney, and there's a lot of them around, and they will usually focus on a basic area. So they'll focus on family law, or they'll focus on estates, or but they'll be kind of a general practice lawyer that you can start out with. But when you get to something that gets more and more specialized, then you need a lawyer that's more and more specialized for that particular thing. Also, it depends on what you have going on as to what you need. So let's break it down like a fraction. So let's say that you're going to go through a divorce. You really want somebody that's predominantly what they do.
Sure.
You know, and one of the great questions to ask is, what percentage of your practice does this type of case make up? And if it's a divorce, you know, they should tell you it's a very large percentage of my practice. If it's a DUI, they should tell you it's a very large percentage of my practice. You know, I do criminal defense and I do but you want the person that focuses on DUIs. And there's another step. You want the person that focuses on that area of practice for something like that in front of the judge that you're gonna be in front of.
Sure.
Or in the area where you're gonna be. You know, if you're going to get divorced in Winnebago County, you want an attorney that not only does a ton of divorces, but you want an attorney that does a ton of divorces in front of the judges in Winnebago County. And here's why. Family law is a very discretionary area of the law. Judges can kind of do, I mean, there's rules, but the rules are very broad. So what you want the lawyer to do is not only guide you in terms of this is how this works and this is what the law is, but you really want them to guide you in terms of this is what the judge is going to do, I think, in this case. And in order to be able to tell you that, they need to be in front of that judge all the time. You know, there was a period of time where I knew everything in the world about family law, but if it was a judge that I'd never been in front of, I don't know what the judge is going to do in this particular case, so I'm not nearly as helpful.
That makes sense.
Right. DUI, same thing. You want somebody that is very familiar with the state's attorneys in that area. And I know sometimes there's this feeling of, well, you know, they're all in it together. They're all in cahoots. Okay, that's not true. All right. Everybody does their job, and everybody makes sure that everything works the way that it's supposed to. Believe me, there's a lot of competition amongst us lawyers.
Yeah.
You want the person that can get their phone call returned. You want the person that knows, you know, the ins and outs. You want the person that knows, hey, this police officer might sometime do this or might sometime do that. And then as you go up the ladder in terms of the significance of your case, then you got to get lawyers that do those specific things. So if you have a patent case, you know, you don't want somebody that has never done those. You got to be part of the patent bar to do that. But if you have a case that's in federal court, okay, big difference between federal court and state court. You want a lawyer that's very familiar with federal court and its rules because they're much more stringent than the rules in state court. So again, it's a very good question to ask. Like one of the things that can happen to me is somebody that does estate work can have something that's heading into litigation and they'll call me up and say, hey, I'd like you to kind of take this over and do the litigation part because they know how to do the estate planning, which I don't.
Right.
But I know how to do the litigation part. I know how to take depositions. I know how to get things ready for trial. So it's always just a really good idea to ask your lawyer, what percentage of your practice does this type of case take up? And how often are you in this particular courthouse in this particular court?
And everything you just said kind of leads me to believe that if anyone called you and said, hey, I have this kind of case, what kind of lawyer should I find? You would say either me or this person.
Just did it this morning.
Yeah,
just did it this morning. Somebody sent me something, said, will you review this contract? And I said, no, 'cause that's not what I do. Yeah.
All right, you can reach out to Tim Mahoney at mahoney'sgotyourback.com. Thanks so much for being here.
Always my pleasure.
Coming up next on GDS, we're getting you ready for Friday night's Barrel of Laughs with headliner Vince Acevedo. We'll be right back.